Hello and welcome back to Satisfactory. My name is Okada. Sorry about all the noise, just doing a little bit of renovation work to the house. I wanted to extend the back a little so that we can install an equipment bench. Plus I wanted to add some skylights, install an awning on our balcony, and finally get a door on the front of our garage. Let me get this place cleaned up a little bit and we'll get to talking about today's projects. All right, the renovations are done. Look at this, we have a nice awning now, supported by a pole. You know, we don't want that to fall in from the weight. And we have skylighting here in the main room, as well as in the back room, with a new workbench. Well, not new, right? We had one in the garage, but that gave us room for an equipment bench as well, a little bit more room for our vehicles to park, and we now have a gate on the front. Now, unfortunately, this gate doesn't want to close, and that's because of the proximity of the vehicles. And I just really haven't been able to get around it, but that's all right. You know, we might get rid of the tractor, and that way when we're out on the Explorer, the door will actually close, and it'll be closed when we come back. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about it. Also, real quick before we start with today's projects, last episode we ended with a hard drive and recycled rubber. You know, we talked about this one before. We didn't take it. It's still an option. Turbo fuel, almost guaranteed yes. Steel rods, no. All right, we've talked about the recycled stuff. They are useful. Turbo fuel, however, is awesome. I don't think I've used this turbo fuel in the past. There is one that uses the heavy oil. This one uses regular fuel, but turbo fuel is turbo fuel. So turbo fuel is fuel, but like cranked to 11. This is really good stuff, and we're definitely going to want it. We're not able to do any kind of fuel stuff right now because we don't have generators, but we definitely want that. So let's grab it. We'll talk about it later when it's time to use it. And let's get on with today's projects because I have a lot I want us to do. So I'll meet you over at the train station area. All right, here we are back at the train station. And what we're going to start off with today is building a warehouse. Now, we've had this temporary storage sitting over here for quite some time now, and it's always been bothersome because, well, it's ugly and it's not particularly functional. It's not good for routing things in and out. You know, so far it's just been a matter of us going and grabbing things manually that we need for building. But that's got to come to an end. And part of the reason why we held off making a warehouse was because I knew that we were going to do a train station in this area somewhere. And I didn't want to build a big building, not knowing exactly where this was going to line up at, and then possibly having to move the warehouse in order to fit the larger structure, which was going to be the station. So now that we have the station in place, we can kind of tell where our merger point is going to be between product coming in from the station or going out, as well as the Belt Highway. And that's what this area is going to be right here. It's kind of drawn out a little bit of space between the two. That way we have room for belting. And we're just going to turn this whole row into potential warehouse space. Now, there is a little bit of a thing in the way here, that little spine. We'll work around it as best we can. You know, I don't like to run things through things, but you know, sometimes we gotta kind of work with the environment as much as we can. What we're going to do is we're going to do 4 wide, and we're going to do 3 stories. And the bottom story is going to be just for belting. And it's going to be really important that we do that because we need a way of getting product out of the warehouse without the belts running into each other and without us knowing ahead of time, oh, hello, where we're going to, oh, where's my basher? Without knowing ahead of time where exactly all the products are going to go or what side of the building they're going to need to come out of. So I'd like to know where that guy came from. Must have followed me up that ramp. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and build out a few of these real quick. I want to do... That guy down there is kind of being disturbed. I think I want to... We're going to put a one high here, so I guess we could have just made that into a wall. That guy ran all the way around. Boy, those guys are fast. All right. And that's fine. But it's not going to let us go through. Woo, almost didn't make that jump. All right. I want this to be a 1. 4. All right. And what we're going to do is put down some large storage containers. We're going to do another floor. It's going to be just like it, but they're going to be offset. So let's see here. And we're not going to do this in a time lapse because it's going to be mostly just running belts. But I want to show you the idea. I think that's going to be right. This is going to be an attempt to use the 2 window walls. And I just need that for alignment purposes. That is not correct. Or is it? Is that correct? It was correct. All right. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to do this. And we don't need... We're not going to use this one on this floor. This whole thing will make sense. I promise. Well, what we're going to do here is we're going to... Actually, I needed that. Stay. I need... that. There we go. Let's get our item out of hand. Okay. And we're going to build up on here. There we go. Line that up. We're going to delete the 2 high. Don't need that anymore. I'm going to set this aside real quick like. And we need a regular wall. We don't have one within reach. All right, go to the menu. I think that's right. There we go. This is going to allow us to walk under belts while we're coming through and getting supplies. And we're going to use some beams. Just like this. Then we're going to cross them. Turn them on our sides. And get our little beam connectors. There we go. That looks great, doesn't it? So what is going to happen here is that we are going to build another floor above us, and we're going to offset another container. See, we can't do it right here. We'll run into it. We're going to offset another container on the next floor, and that will come down through the floor holes, the lift holes, and go out the other window. Now, the windows may or may not all be on the front. We're going to almost certainly do this on the back for the inputs. Oh, looks like our mam is done. And again, that way, this gives us an easy way of getting in and out. And the bottom floor is going to allow us to, say we decide we want to send something out the side of the building. Well, instead of running out this window, we can put a lift hole in the floor, go down through the floor, and then go out sideways without running into anything that we have to avoid. And that's going to work out much better for belt management. But we'll probably bring things in just straight from the back window because we can take them like right from the station. We also will probably have to adjust or extend the highway. We may even have to renovate it. You know, we'll see. But I'm going to get to building this just like this with another floor on top. And I'm going to extend it all the way over as far as it can go. We'll probably even have to take out a tree or two because we want to be able to use this as a large storage facility. So we bring things in on the train station and put them in here, and we can take them back out and send them back on to other places, as well as merging with the belt highway. So let me get to it, and I'll be right back. I'll tell you, drawing these beams, kind of tedious. Kind of tedious. You know, I'm back and forth on whether or not I want these horizontal or vertical, or, you know, rotated or not. I think I do want them rotated because it looks like they clear better. But I wanted to resume real quick. You know, I said we were going to just jump to the end of this, but I didn't feel like I adequately described what I'm doing here. And while it's kind of open, I wanted to take a moment to show you, now that I have more of it down and mapped out, what I was actually talking about and what the design here is. I'll get back to that in a second. So on each floor, we have basically half the warehouse, and it's all offset so that it lines up with the double windows. Now, these front double windows here are going to be gone. They're just for alignment purposes. But the back windows will be here, and this is where everything's going to come in. Let's turn on some lighting here. And the reason we're doing this doubling is, right, these two line up with this so we can do a maximum input speed that a cargo container can hold. And the offset will go over and up to upstairs to the next set, which again, they're over the left, right? The other ones were over on the right side. These are over on the left. And then these will fill up and they will go back down to the floor. And as you can see, they just kind of fly right past the other ones. And if we go all the way downstairs, this is where our actual output's going to be. And what we'll probably do is we'll have maybe an extension of the highway come up in the front so that things that need to go back to our manufacturing can make their way in. And ones that are more appropriate to go out the side, they can, instead of going out the front, they can come down, to something like this, right? I think 2. The alignment right now doesn't matter. Yeah, here we go. And we can align it to go with the, I offset it, but that's not the point. Point is that we now have clearance that we can run several belts under these belts without running into them, going across, as well as we have the whole middle. So we can have tons of belts just side by side. As well as in the middle here, we can stack them and they won't run into anything. So this is going to give us a lot of versatility in our product coming down and going out. Of course, over here, we would probably use the high ones to go over these. But we're going to have plenty of room for more storages along this way. And if any of those need to come down and go out the side, then they'll probably be the ones that come down and avoid this. So they'll be in this row. They can go over and go into the highway, and the highway again can come up and come around behind and supply goods into the storage. So this is going to give us good versatility for all the different things that we want to do and not have belts run into each other. Also, I realized that I forgot to collect the hard drive. So let's do that real quick, like. Steel rods, no thank you. Alternates for things that go to the space elevator, I probably will never do unless we're out of recipes. And computers, we do want an alternate for computers. Deuterium computer. Oh, oh yes, yes, yes. Something that uses quick wire. Thank you. Oh, we definitely want this. I don't even care what the ratios are. Yeah, it is a little bit faster at 3.5, 3.75 versus 2.5, so that's excellent. Gets rid of our screws, so we don't have to bring screws over there, although we could do screws over there. But quick-wire, we know that we have oodles of quick-wire potential with that facility, so this is going to be excellent. Yes, 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 yes. All right, we're not going to dwell on that. We'll take that. Our last hard drive. There is one more hard drive that I haven't picked up. So that hard drive right there, off camera. I did run back over to the one that was over here that, we ran out of motors and we couldn't get it. So I ran back over and got that. And I forgot to bring rubber with me. There is another crash site over here, if you recall, that requires rubber, and it's really defended. We've run up to it, looked at it, and run away for our lives. I went all the way back to it after doing this to grab it real quick and didn't have any rubber on me. So I still need to pick that one up. So we have one more hard drive that we know of that we can definitely get, but we'll worry about that later. I'm going to get back to finishing this out now that you understand what the facility is going to be like. And I'm going to build it all the way along. We're going to try to preserve what trees we can preserve, but to be honest, we're going to lose some trees. Maybe this one, maybe not. I'm looking forward to having this up and going, and we have other things we want to get done for this run. So let's jump to that real quick. Well, now that kind of got out of hand. I started building and just kept going, and well, we ended up with enough space for 20 storages on the top, 20 storages on the second floor, and that, of course, comes out to 40 item storage. Now, there's no way we're storing 40 items here, but we can use this side largely for quick access items, things that we use for building and belting, and the other end will mostly be for manufacturing. So there's kind of a plan. I don't have everything predefined, but there is a purpose, and we may not end up using all of them, but it really got down to, I knew I wanted quick access over here, so I wanted it to be closer to the rail line where I'll be going and coming from, and I wanted stuff all the way down there by the belt highway for manufacturing purposes, and there was just no reason to leave a gap in the middle. Though, speaking of gaps, as you can see, I built around the spine, so I did manage to avoid it. And the bottom floor, as I mentioned, is going to be for output, and this is going to work out really well because everything can come down, and if I need it to go back to, say, the trains, they can just turn around and go out that way instead of this way. And this bottom space is going to allow us to kind of reorganize. Say we have an item that we're using, like, say, pipes, right? The concrete pipes. We might have them go out to the highway and be manufactured through one of these outputs, and the other one could come down and come across on the bottom and then go back out. Say we could move one of these windows down to like manufacturers that are nearby. So this gives us some versatility to move items around, and they don't have to go exactly out right where their bin is. So this is going to work out pretty well. It might get a little bit cramped. We're going to have to get creative with the belting at some point, but that's a challenge that we will overcome when it comes down to time. But I want to show you, so here's our access now to the train station. And we have all the inputs down here. As you can see all the way down there, we have all the inputs are on this level. So the upstairs inputs are down here. So for example, this upstairs bin will receive its input from here, and it'll go up through the floor. So, I kind of showed you early on as we were working on it. And these will probably lose their outputs because they'll probably be our quick access things. I want to be able to come in here and get belting material and whatnot, and it's going to be easier to see what's on them without these in the way. and it's going to be easier to run up and down here without them in the way. So those will probably be gone, but we'll worry about that when the time comes. And you can see we got a nice little roofing thing going on, kind of a outdoorsy thing. I'm quite happy with it. All right, so I want to show you how the belting came in. And this took, this took probably 10 hours to do. And sure, it wouldn't take 10 hours for me to redo it, because now I've worked out all the systems. But, building and tearing down, and especially when it came down to the belting, this took a lot of work of figuring out how the belting was going to work without things clipping into each other. And, it just takes time. Sometimes these things take time to do them right, to do them cleanly. And, yeah. But it came out quite compact and quite nice. So, as you can see, we have, get up here, 4 belts coming in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what they do is they come from the highway. As you can see, we have 4 of them there, and they make the turn. And after they make the turn, they can be stacked as high as we need them. There's no limit to how high we can stack these. And they come in, and the 4, so like the 4 on this level, 1, 2, 3, 4. They come down 1, 2, 3, 4. So they take up 2 segments. So this goes to an upstairs bin, downstairs bin, upstairs bin, downstairs bin. And then it repeats the pattern. So the first 2 come in off of their conveyor poles and straight into the lifts. And then the second 2, as you can see, they come and they make a perfect turn. Let's wait for the save. And they make the turn perfectly. It's a perfect 90 degree. And they go into the next ones. And that clears enough space for the next tier of belts to make their way down to another tier and repeat the pattern. And we could do this all the way down if we had to. Obviously, we won't, but we could. So this is a way for us to load all of the storage containers nice and clean and nice and compact. Now, again, as you notice, there are 4 belts coming in. And another part of what took so much time is that in order to do this properly, I had to rebelt the entire highway. Oh, yeah, the entire thing. So we have 2 sets of 4 belts coming in from the steel area. And you might notice that we have 2 of them that are empty. These are pre-reserved. One of them will be Nobelisks in the future, the explosives. And the other one will be compacted coal, which will end up going to the rail system over to our oil area to be turned into turbo fuel. So we'll deal with all that in a later episode. Now we have all of the products that are being manufactured over there are now coming up and making their way over to the storage area. And we can stack those as much as we need to as well for future products that we are going to manufacture over there. One of which is going to be the next thing we're going to do. So the last thing we're going to do for today is we're going to build out a proper concrete manufacturing setup. Now these are going to go onto platforms just like everything else, but we don't want them to run through the yard, so they're going to turn around and they're going to go over here, and they're going to run up and around. Now, right now our belts are not fast enough to contain all of the concrete, or at least the limestone. Once these are up to Mark II, we're going to have, between these 2 and the other 2 on the far side, 600 limestone coming in. We're only going to do 2 belts. We know that we're going to get to Mark IV soon. And so for now, we're going to do just like we did with the quick wire. We're going to let a little bit of it back up and not worry about it. But for now, one of these lines will carry 300. The other one's going to carry 60. It's the way the splitting's going to work out, because one of those is pure and one of them is a normal node. And they're going to run up around here, go around our copper building. The bottom one, which will be a 60 line, is going to meet up with this normal node at Mark II will be a 120. So that will bring it up to 180 on the bottom line. And they wrap all the way around the copper manufacturing, and they go up. And as you can see, this one right here goes over into another merger. Oh, I fell off. That kind of throws a wrinkle in my plans. I'm going to have to run all the way around. But that's fine because I need to come around here anyway. And the last normal node, if you remember, we built around it here. This will run up to a belt right here. Going to run across our future soon-to-be concrete manufacturing building that was originally going to be a manufacturer building. And that will wrap around with 120, combining with the 180 for, I almost ran off again, for another 300 line. And you can see they both go into the building. And this is the future building. Again, soon-to-be building. We're going to rebuild it. And I kind of left some of the walls in place to show you kind of how things don't always work out at first. You know, I was measuring it out, and I wanted to avoid running into that tree. So I moved it forward. We had to cut down some smaller trees to do it. But, you know, I ran the belting multiple times, as you can see. This is the copper sheeting line. I had reran it a couple of times. And this is just kind of, you know, you say it took so much time to get all this stuff done. This is the stuff that happens off camera. You know, I do the entire thing, find out that it's not going to fit right, and then I have to tear it all down again and do it again. And, you know, it's just the nature of the process. But normally you don't see my tearing things down and all that because I do it off camera just so I can make sure that it's a smooth build when it comes time to do, you know, a time lapse or whatnot. But this is how it's going to work out right here. We don't need this anymore. And we will eventually have, I think, 14 constructors in here. Again, we can't run all of them right now because we can't deliver all of the limestone. But we might as well build it out to do so. So I think we're going to do a quick time lapse on here. We're going to build it out. I'm going to have to belt this all around to the new warehouse, and probably next episode we're going to end up using it on our alternate recipe for our heavy modular frames, because all this stuff will now be stored in the warehouse and we'll be able to start a manufacturer building. So let's get to this. I know we don't have a whole lot of time, and knock it out. All right, that was nice and quick. Yeah, that wasn't too problematic. You know, it's a fairly simple building, and I don't think we really need to do much of a walkthrough. It's pretty obvious as to what's going on here. We are producing currently 180 concrete per minute because we're not supplying all 600 limestone due to the belt speed. But that's, you know, that's plenty. I don't even know what the target is. It's just that's the limestone that we had, so that's what we threw together. If we need more, then there is room to put more constructors up, and there are other limestone deposits around that we could always tap if we needed to. But they are streaming up and heading to the Belt Highway, all the way across the top of there, and into the warehouse. But we are out of time, so let's get back to the house. And on our way back to the house, of course, we need to get rid of all of this. Bye-bye. And the one last thing we need to wrap up is the hard drive we had going. Okay, no, we already got our quick wire covered. We did this really fast. So resin there's another kind of strategy towards making products in oil by turning in resin first and then turning them into things. It's actually not bad. It's pretty versatile to have the ability to have more resin or less resin depending on what you decide you want to do. I would kind of like to have this recipe. But looking over here, I've never liked making crystal oscillators. They're just kind of a pain. And, you know, despite this having an AI limiter, which actually makes this more complex than the default recipe, arguably a little bit more complex, one of the big slowdowns to making oscillators is the inefficiency of making crystal quartz, because it's 5 to 3. So it takes a lot to make quartz crystals. And this is shaving a lot of quartz crystal out of the recipe. So we're going to go ahead and take that. And we'll probably run and get another hard drive next time. Remember, there is one more place that we have that we just haven't gone and got it. Takes rubber. But we are out of time for this episode. A quick reminder, in case you missed it in the earlier part, we are going to shift to a 1 per week schedule. Probably going to maintain the current Sunday schedule, but you never know. Things can change. But we're going to do that because I want to maintain the quality of the recordings with, you know, the projects are getting more and more complex, and I have time pressures also outside in the world. And I don't want to have to cut corners to keep up with the schedule and cause there to be less quality content and less quality just, you know, in how we present things. So it's more important to me that we keep up with the production value that we have right now. So thank you very much for coming out. If you're still here, thank you very much for hanging out to the end. I know we're a little over time. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're enjoying the series, and if you are, be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And if you liked it, you know, click the like button on the way out. And, you know, love to hear from you guys. So be sure to leave a comment, and even if it's just to say hi. But thank you very much for coming out, and I hope to see you in the next episode.